Well, as you know from watching our show, we have been closely monitoring the surge of illegal immigrants at our southern border under this administration. And Schott and I have had journalists, lawmakers, Border Patrol agents, and many others on this show to discuss the issue. But often what gets overlooked is the impact that illegal immigration is having on ranchers throughout the country. And our next guests are from Kinney County, Texas, and have both personally been impacted by the recent surge at our border. Joining us now is rancher Pam Schott and Kinney County attorney and rancher Brent Smith. Pam, Brent, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you and really want you to express the concerns that you guys are seeing on a daily basis to our viewers. Pam, I want to start with you because I understand that you've had a recent encounter that was pretty scary with illegal immigrants.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that? What happened?
Yes, on Saturday morning, I had been out working in my yard and had come in to clean up, to run some errands. And as I come out of the bedroom, our living room has big picture windows, and we have a couple of deer feeders out across the yard, and I see the deer take off running, and which is very unusual. And so I went to the back door to look, and I can see three illegals come walking up to the house. And so I ran to get a gun and call for Border Patrol. And I ended up getting a hold of the sheriff's department, and they sent deputies out. It did take about 30 minutes. But as I was waiting for law enforcement, they came right up to the house, to the back of the door, did not knock, which I've heard that, they will knock on your doors or your windows. They did not. They went straight for the door and tried to open it. And thank goodness I had it locked. But there were three of them. One had tried to open, the younger one tried to open the door and a couple of times, and then he had backed off. And then the woman that was with him, she came up and tried to open the door. They just stayed there at the back door, looking at us. They could see my daughter and I through the door because it's all glass, and but would not leave. And then finally, law enforcement showed up, which was the Kinney County Sheriff's Department, and they apprehended them.
How often are you seeing things like this happen, Pam?
Here at our house, we've only had that happen one other time. And they did not, once they saw my daughter and I, they left. Usually they don't want to be seen by you, and, they take off. But these were very brave and did not appear to be scared. We had two big dogs that were after them, and they were not afraid of the dogs. But since Biden has gotten in, we have seen numerous on the ranch. There's been more than we've ever seen before in the last year or so.
So, Brent, we actually had you on the show in April to talk about this issue that you're seeing on your own ranch, and you're an attorney there. What is happening to these people once they do get picked up? Are they being placed in jail? What happens to them?
Well, it depends, Lindsay. In Mrs. Schott's case, one of the males was 17-year-old, and the other one was a female. Well, our jail does not have space or the appropriate accommodations to house them. So they were turned over to Border Patrol, who I assume then released them back into the country. So, and we're going to file charges on these people for, attempted burglary. But what's scary is that, if a U.S. citizen had done this, they'd be in jail right now. But instead, being turned over to Border Patrol, who then releases them, they're now back in the country and probably headed your way.
Simply because they don't have room for them?
Correct. We don't have room, and we don't have a facility to house 17-year-olds, which is considered a minor in Texas, nor females, which you have to have separate facilities for them. Without the facilities to jail these people, we have to turn them out with a warrant at large, meaning that they'll be brought back into court during their during their trial. But in this case, we have to let them go to Border Patrol, who right now is catch and release. So I'm sure they're back on the street somewhere.
Wow. So, Pam, what other issues? I mean, you've seen these people try to break into your home. I mean, that's pretty bad. But what other issues are these illegal immigrants causing for ranchers, you and ranchers around you?
It's very bad because they're cutting our fences. We have cattle, and our cattle are getting out. they get mixed up with our neighbors' cattle, or they end up out on the streets. We do we are right off of Highway 90, which is dangerous. That's a very busy road. They leave trash all over the place. So your cattle, sometimes get into that, and that causes them to be sick. It's very frustrating. They bust our water troughs for our cattle, and and drain our tanks out and stuff. It's very difficult for us. I mean, we're trying to make a living, and they make it very difficult.
I mean, it sounds very difficult. Being a rancher is a very hard job. I haven't been one, but I've been around ranches, and I can see how hard it is. I mean, cutting your fences, trying to find your cattle, this money. I mean, Brent, what are ranchers doing? Because this is costing them a lot of livelihood, a lot of money on their part. I mean, what can be done? Are there lawsuits that can be in place? What's happening?
Lindsay, I mean, ranchers really don't have an avenue for getting reimbursement for this sort of thing right now. I know there's 2 ranchers in Kenyon County that had to call it quits because they don't have the financial resources to continue fixing fence, to continue buying the supplies. The solution is going to have to either lie in the federal government or our state governor to declare an invasion and protect Texans, because Mrs. Schott's story is just one of hundreds each day that occur on the border. And we need to do something to protect Texans, and not only Texas, but the rest of the United States, for the criminal element that's coming through our open borders.
Pam, do you have under how much money have you had to fork out in these damages that you've seen just this last year?
That is probably a better question for my husband, but I would say hundreds, probably thousands, just in the equipment to replace, water systems and the fences, the way they're cutting them now. They're not cutting it where it's easy to splice them together. So and with the material, and then you have to worry about them, stealing your Polarises or your ATVs. It's hard, because they break into buildings like hunting cabins and stuff like that. And they do damages to the hunting cabins. Like we had one leave a door open during the middle of a storm and totally ruined the floor right inside the door. So they do a lot of damage.
It's so unfortunate. Pam, Brent, really appreciate you sharing your story with our viewers, and I hope to check back in with you. And I hope that you guys find some relief soon. Prospects aren't looking good, but our prayers are with you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for being a part of our company. We hope to see you right back here.